Hi, I am Dani, and I am so glad that you're here. Today we're talking about the book, The Power of Habit. And I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, Charles Duhigg, Duhigg. Anyway, what a great book. What a great book. So, a lot of the books that you'll find that I'm talking about on the channel and anywhere are about the power of the mind and changing the mind, because here's what we know. Whether you're doing something extremely physically challenging, or whether you are building a business, whether you are developing an abundance mindset, having more financial abundance in your life, it's all, no matter what you're trying to accomplish, it all depends on the power of your mindset and on the power of your mind and its ability to create new habits, to create new ways of thinking and feeling and being. And this we know for sure because because of the research and just because we know it all starts in the mind. David Goggins talks a lot about, when he would give up physically, it's because, not necessarily because he would reach a physical obstacle that couldn't be overcome, but that he had already talked himself into quitting in his mind. And then as soon as we find that thing that we're willing to accept, then the brain its job is to kind of come up with the reasons and the justification for doing it. So as soon as his mind kind of decided, oh, this is a lot, maybe I can quit, then it starts to kind of work backwards. And so instead we want to just program the mind with a lot of these books I'm reading are ways to help program the mind to serve us as we try to transform or change, which is what I'm doing, which is what I want to share with other people, is that our lives right now, we have these conditioned ways of being that started when we were very, very young and have built up this life for us. And if our life were to stay on the same trajectory that it is on the same trajectory that it is right now, is that cool with you? Would you be happy? Great if it is. For me, not so much. So I am working to change that. And it's got a lot of momentum, a lot of well-worn pathways in my brain, making certain connections, making my standard ways of being what wants to carry on. But I am interested in breaking those patterns and creating new patterns, so that requires work. So a lot of the books that I'm reading right now are on this subject. The Power of Habit is one of them. The next one I think I'm going to talk about is Becoming Superhuman by Joe Dispenza. Joe Dispenza is another great guy who brings in the science of changing the mind. Anyway, back to the power of habit, because the important thing about habit is that our brain loves habits, because when we're learning something new, it takes a tremendous amount of energy and focus, and the brain has evolved to be as efficient as possible. So it doesn't want to reinvent the wheel every time. It doesn't want to constantly do something new and different and change your life. It wants to do those same established patterns that you've got, because it's like, when you're learning something new, you're using a lot of brain power. I want to reach the habit part of the brain. It's a different part of the brain where this processing works, and it takes a whole lot less presence and less energy for the brain if you're doing something that's already an ingrained habit. So this is the power of changing our habits, because our brain loves habits. Our brain wants to have a go-to. It gets a cue in our mind, in our experience, in our environment. A cue can be a thought, it can be a feeling, it can be something we're walking by in our day, it can be anything really. So a cue is something that's a signal to the brain that this is time for this behavior, and then this behavior brings a certain reward. And so that's the habit loop, right? We have a cue, we have, what is it called, the middle part, the routine and the reward. The cue, the routine, and the reward. So we crave the reward, so we have these cues, and it says, okay, you're going to get this reward, so let's go. So one of the things we need to know about habits is The brain craves habits. It wants to go into these automated ways of being. So that's why it's so powerful for us to change our habits, not just to change our once in a while behaviors, but our habits that are ingrained that the brain will automatically go for. It's a painful process at the beginning, but then once you have ingrained a new habit, oh, it's such a beautiful thing when you can take an old habit that wasn't so great and replace it with a new one. Okay, which brings us to another thing he talks about in the book, which is there's no way to delete a habit that you have. So the best way you can eliminate a bad habit, what you consider bad, detrimental to your growth or the person that you want to be and know you can be, the best way to get rid of a bad habit is to replace it with a good one. So you see the cue is still there, it's in your environment, it's wherever it is. The cue is still there, but your response and your action is different. And then your reward will generally be the same, like some good feeling. A lot of times it's a good feeling, or it's a sense of accomplishment, a sense of control, sense of comfort, whatever that reward is. So you still have the cue, but then you have a different behavior. That's where you change it. For example, your cue is, I'm at a transitional point at work, and so before I start something new, I'm a little bored and I get up and go get something to eat. And so this is a personal one. This is one that I'm working on incorporating right now, right? So what if hypothetically, instead of going to get something to eat, I would drink a glass of water, or I would do a 7-minute stretching routine. So I'm working on right now, what am I going to replace that with? I'll do an experiment. And if you want, I'll do an update video that says, that's a good idea, I'm going to write that down, do an update video. So what I am trying is that urge, I do it all the time, right? So you're sitting, for me it's a lot with transitional periods. Transition between two activities, transition between job and after work, transition just having a break from work and not really having anything specific to do. So I will try for the next month and make a note and do a follow-up video. Okay, I'll do that. So let's do this. Let's see how it works. So this is one of the things I'm trying. Another thing with habits is he says that there are keystone habits. Another thing, okay, so that's how you get rid of a bad habit, is to replace it with a good one. If you want to start a new good habit, what you do is you have the cue to begin the new good behavior be something that you're already doing anyway. For example, a couple of the things I have used in the past are, number one, as soon as I get up, I do this. Sometimes it's exercise, sometimes it's drink water, whatever that is. As soon as I get up, here's my gym shoes are already on the floor beside the bed. I immediately roll out of the bed and do this. Or brushing your teeth can be a cue to do something else. Sometime if I'm working on affirmations or some visualization or something, I will have brushing my teeth be the cue to do this other thing. So when you're starting a new good habit, anchor it to a cue that you automatically already do. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. They also say there are these keystone habits that are, if you tend to change this one thing, then other things kind of automatically change, like exercise. Like if you can get into the habit of this exercise, then things around it start to change without you having to necessarily focus specifically on them. These are keystone habits. So think about what those could be for you. For me, I plan to start, I go through periods where I walk 5, 6, 7 times a week and I do great with it. But in Kansas, our winter is so cold, and it's getting cold here now, and so it's a big detriment. And so what I want to do is take my lunch break every day from work and go to the gym for my walk. And so I'll do an update on that too in a month, and we'll see how that's going. That's the second thing I'm working on, is creating that habit. Okay, it's lunchtime at work. This is what I do. As soon as I hit that button for out to lunch, then I have an immediate thing to do. So that's what I'm going to try personally. And so I will let you know how that goes. That's my keystone habit that I've decided to work on. You know, just I'm working on bringing awareness to all of the habits and the cues and the triggers that I already have. And so really doing some work with this over the next month or even beyond. And so also another thing he talks about is kind of planning out the obstacles. You already know you're going to have obstacles and challenges that are going to come up. Maybe it's a mindset that says, oh, it's too cold, or whatever that is. You know it's going to come up, so plan for it now. You don't want to be in the position where you're making your decision in the moment. You want to make your decision ahead of time. Oh, this is the time I go to the gym, and then you do it. You don't decide that you're going to make your decision in the moment. That's a killer. That's one of those things I've learned for myself over the years. Tell me if you can relate in the comments. I want to know what habits you are working on building or eliminating and how it is going. Tell me in the comments. Like if you like the video. If you love the video, subscribe and hit the bell. And if you think you know someone else who might love the video, then share it. And that is all for today. This is 11 minutes, long enough. So, but the Power of Habit is a wonderful book. I encourage it for anyone because it really is about the power of the mind. We can talk ourselves into or out of almost anything. So I want to use the power of the mind to help create the life that I'm craving. And I hope you are too. If you are here, you probably are too. So I will see you next time.